back to basics. If I want to draw anything, one of the things we've been quite insistent on for 30, 40 odd years is this idea of sitting up. If you're going to draw, so most of the weight's going that way, so you can be very light with your pencil. 3 grips. This one, pencil as well. So sketching grip halfway and trying to draw from the shoulder. It seems a bit odd because most people will draw like that, or you get that, or you get this, or you get that, because nobody showed them the trick. If you can get youngsters to draw like that, and there's various tricks of lining dots on the page and try and get them to join up and they don't quite work and it's too heavy or it's going, that's okay. You'll learn by falling off a bike how to ride a bike. Nobody, as far as I'm aware, has got up the bike, sat on it and cycled away. You'll learn by making mistakes. This idea of drawing from the shoulder then becomes a little bit easier when you know the next trick. Move the page. I'm 65 years old and I've been drawing the same line for over 50 years. No wonder it looks easy. I break things as well. I want to draw vertically and just turn the page. Now with a bit of practice you can move your arm and you can build up horizontal and vertical lines. Or if you want to go a little bit scary, you notice I'm doing this noisy, yeah? That's kind of important. You also end up with a very mucky heel of the hand because it's going back and forward. I'm not a tennis player, but I'm drawing backhand. Not as good. Yeah, I won the class. I was at the back of their school last week, and I've still got a tennis ball up in the ceiling. I was glued one to the ceiling. What's that for? A backhand. Oh. So just get this idea of pushing the pencil away from you, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. Now, this has been 5 years since I've tried to demonstrate with my left hand. But I always try to do that because the kids are doing it for the first time. But I knew make it look easy. Well, this one's not been used in a long time, so I'm going to have to, but it can be done. Once we've got this idea of overlapping lines, you find a pen that's working.
Got a bag if that's any use to you.
We're away. I'm not going to lick the nip of these ones again. Poison stuff, these back in the day. I've got a shape. Or, if I've got a random combination of lines, again turning the page, you will have noticed the change in grip. I'm now holding it more like a pencil. So, grip number 2 is an outlining grip. The third grip, and there's only 3 I've ever worked with, is that one. Using the side of the tip of the pencil to float a little bit of colour in. And if you go over the edge, it doesn't matter. Don't get upset about it. Because a wee trick to get over that is just to firm in just inside the line. 15 minutes and he's drawn a square. Woohoo. But with that, you can create all sorts of shapes. Straight lines. If I've got a rectangle here and that line, you've got to decide which one you're going to firm in. I like triangles, but I'm going to go for this one because it's got a few extra wee flat bits in it. And early on, it's less dangerous. If I'm going to go into the workshop and make something, I want to make something that's going to be less chance of someone getting hurt. This is all linking to what we'll be doing early first year. So in terms of workshop, this would be coping saw, tenon saw, Higner jigsaw possibly, pillar drill, twist drill, Forstner drill, maybe even a hole saw. Files, in fact that. First year. Pillar drill, Forstner drill, twist drill, Forstner drill, Higner saw, coping saw, rasp, file, sandpaper, stains, and maybe a pair of scissors.
What's the base?
This is a sheet foam, comes in different colours. Aldi do it every so often, but you can get it from educational supplies as well. It's very handy for making shapes that are difficult to cut out.
Hobbycraft sell that like sheet loads and bucket loads.
Yeah. I think probably was that place that sold the markers again? Bloody old age. The Range will probably have it.
Yeah, Range as well.
Yeah. So if you're building up shapes like that, and I'm just going to try and pile this all on one page and speed it up a wee bit. If I was to take another cut and decide I'm going to go for the long skinny one this time, and I might even want to put the words long and skinny next to it, because as things come to head, it's good that the kids write down what they're thinking. They'll forget about it, but they go back, oh yeah, I remember that. And in this case, I'm going to introduce this idea. How can you do that, sir? something wrong with my circle, kids. What's wrong with it? It's an egg. All right, what's wrong with it? It's too long. Okay, so I'll make it shorter. Better. Better. Now, whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise, it's going to take a lot of practice. And kids, if you can get them engaged in this, can end up with about 200 circles on a page. Swear blind that the homework is to draw frog spawn and come back looking quite kind of chuffed with a big dirty bit of their hand here because they've been going round and round. But with a bit of practice, circles become a little bit easier. So in this case, you've made a decision as to what that is, haven't you? You've all said that's a hole in here. I haven't mentioned anything, but when I do this, I agree with you. The function of that hole, I have no idea. I'm just going to do a little trick on the inside here again. That's that dark line with the coloured pencil. That just defines the edge. And if you've got a pencil that can do a firmer outline, then firming the outline stands out. I missed a bit out. I said you go around the edge of the material. This has also got an edge. Okay, it's got a key tag. Woo! If I take a rectangle and I'm allowing myself a little bit more freedom, and the fact you've agreed that your hand has got a natural jaggy. Now, what these products become, it depends on the age of the students, etc. But this is a drawing skill. There's some work up there from a student who did some work in fourth, fifth, and fifth year folio works there. And he was bringing stuff back in and going, you know, your kids are better than you. Fine, that's what you want to be. If you're doing stuff like this and the kids get involved in it and they come back and they're better than you, or showing you some new ideas, that's exactly what you want to happen. In fact, his mum said he's just sold all his PlayStation stuff and buying markers and pens. He's now making a fortune as a tattoo artist. Keeps in touch. There's a big hole. Where you put a hole is kind of important. Those with pierced ears know what I mean. Too close. How about that hole? Possible or not possible?
Possible.
If it's cut before you slice that bit off, you just draw in a hole and then cutting through it. So you can have a whole hole or part of a hole. Shapes, cuts, curves, holes. That's not a hole. That can't be a hole because it's got an outside. So what could that be? That's something different. What could that be?
Protruding cylinder.
Whoa!
The dowel.
I love that. Change the hole, take the H away and put a P in it. My English isn't great, but I think that says pole. Right? Or full with PH. No, that's not. So it could be a peg sticking out. Yeah? So that you're drawing in 2D, but there's depth to this. I have no idea if that green thing is this thick or that thick. If it's a bit like that caramel shortbread down there, I couldn't finish it. It was so sugary. Or it's a thin wafer. You can't tell from that, but it's a starting point. So I'm going to jump a wee bit to some examples that I've run through, I think. I don't know if this is the right folder for them. That was for sketching on. If I take some examples of pupils' work, let's just take this one down from the wall here. It's not going to stay up there now. This is... So Walker went on about lines to shapes, adding the colour, cutting 2 cuts out. You could end up with 3 bits if you like there, and slopes. Inside, that's a very bad tongue-in-cheek one. Holes. What about putting holes in a line? Do holes have to be on their own, or can you have a pattern of holes? Guardsmen's uniforms. Costume guards have 3 buttons, a gap, and 3 buttons. Either they cut the 4th one out, or it's part of a design way back in military times. You can have holes in curves or in straight lines, depending how you want to arrange them. So this is going through, glasses on, can't see a thing, the idea of holes. Be careful where you put them. A hole could have a slot in it. It's the sort of thing you could put something into, like it's gripping. It could mirror the existing shape. Inside curves, outside curves. Inside curves are a bit hard for youngsters to cut and get that on the belt sander, whatever you're using or the disc sander to get that curve. So tend to keep the outside curves early on, but if it's something warrants it, you can do an inside curve. Anyone else thinking of a bridge? Never been to Venice, but I'm thinking of a bridge for some reason. Leaf definitely came to mind here, and then fish came to mind for that one. But for the fish, outside curve this time. So my straight lines have gone completely, but I've had to add something to that to get the fish idea. If you see from some of these other ones, apparently fish come in all shapes and sizes, with big bodies, small tails, big bodies, big tails, small bodies, small tails, big eyes, small eyes, round eyes, oval eyes, eyes at the front, eyes at the back, two eyes looking eyes, shut eyes, big pupils, small pupils. You see the possibilities start piling in there, and you'll see some examples in the sketch pads round about. Even one of them, this was going to be the side of the body until I've put teeth on it and became, all right, that one's looking a bit more angry. And the teeth would be the things that are difficult to cut. You go for that type of material. What that's going to do in terms of a pole, that eye looks different for some reason. It's not eyeshadow. But do you see a shadow? So maybe that is all the way from Edinburgh, a shadow. It's not a good example. Yeah? So I'm blinding everybody with this. But just by putting a little, where's it going now? There. By putting a little bit of shadow underneath it, and maybe just put the word pole next to it, just to make life a little bit easier for yourself. That could be a sticky eye. It's got a big bulb, just put an eye stick in it. No, I don't know how far it's sticking it, because depth isn't in that one either. All of that's on the Get a Grip Graphics YouTube channel, which I've linked to and it's talked over. It's about 18 minutes. It's 40 minutes worth, but it's reduced down. I'll let you see that in a minute or two. This one is using the same technique, if you like, but rather than taking things away, I'm putting things together. So if I was just to take an example of one of them, right there. Two roundish looking things, and said that was a bird, a head and a body. How might one join the two in terms of shape? Oh, somebody say neck.
I want to do that.
Oh, look at that. Look at that wee. Or you could have a rectangular shape between them. Or you could have a triangular shape between them. Or you could have
tangent to tangent.
Do you see the possibilities? Yeah? Now, we assuming that was a head. What if I put the eye here? And that's the body. What else do I need to make it a bird? What kind?
Beak.
Wings.
Beaks first. What kind of beak? Because we've got all sorts of shapes of beaks. You look at birds, you go, you've seen a crossbill? Absolutely. It should have cross eyes.
Like a stork beak.
Beak does like that. A stork. So there you go. Oh, let's make a pelican, right? So straight away, just by putting some lines on it, we've got, it does look like straining somewhat. Never having drawn this bird before, it looks like it's trying to get through a small hole. If I was to say it's also going to have a wing, then I could go for something simple like an oval, maybe with a wee wingy bit. I am winging it. What else might I want? Feet. I'm going to go for the simple foot, like he's sitting down.
Oh, my dad's so cute. He's a pupil.
Now, pupils are kind of important. That bird is terrified. If your pupil's small, you're terrified. Where's my bird enhancer and pen? This one absolutely loves you. That's why nightclubs have got low lights, because your pupils get bigger and you walk in and you think everybody likes you. The bigger the pupil, the more attracted you are to it. It's a physiological fact. You put the lights on, watch everybody suddenly get scared. Pupil, eye, beak, head, neck, wing, foot. I'm going to put tail. Now, with that formula, which we've just run through on that very roughly, have a look. Body, connect, neck, or neck. Oh. Penguin. Puffin. So there's neck and neck. We've got beaks. We've got eyes going in. We've got wings, different types of shapes of wings, number, size, position, flappiness, number of feathers, no feathers. We've then got tail. There's tails starting to appear in them. And they're all different. Then we've got crests and hair and feet and foot and leg. And you can like any of them or hate any of them. It doesn't really matter because you're just playing about with the idea at the moment. And that took our best part of 40 minutes to do that page. But you wouldn't do that in front of class in a one-hour. That's a whole series of lessons on it. And in front of some of you, you might see some examples done with classes before. So if I can steal that one, and there might be some stuff before. I think I've got quite a few birdie things. There you go. Available at all fishmongers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay. I knew I had something here. Where's my birds? Where's my fish? There's a whole lot of different. There's bodies as well. Bats with no bodies. So yeah, there's a condensed one here. I thought I had some extra pages, but there's the bits. There's the bodies, the features, eyes, tails, and so on. Holes, depending on the pattern of holes or slotting into holes. Keep it as much as possible. Although you're looking in 2D.
Thank you.
Cheers now. Thinking about 3D. Now, students wouldn't be able to do that, but if there's an example of something you're working with, you can go, Blue Peter time, here's one I prepared earlier. They get an idea how this 2D thing could link to 3D. None of this, I think it says it down here, he's going to think to himself, but even talked about colour or pattern or texture and that, because again, you look at real bird, fish, keeps changing. The number of possibilities are endless again. This one could have something in his mouth. That thing in its mouth might actually be a shelf sticking out, so that if you had a slot in here with a flat piece sticking out that way, it could go on the wall. So you see how simple 2D shapes open up to all sorts of possibilities. This will be later on. This is for a project which I called Pet Table. Sounds worse when you see petable, but I know, innocent. We told them a story about a company going out of business because of cheap imports making tables, Trossachs tables, well, a lot of rubbish you tell kids, honestly. And they had to design a simple table that can be self-assembly with a theme, and the theme was a pet. So the idea was, what do people have as pets? I have no idea what the next page is this, so I'm winging it. There's all sorts of shapes starting to come up from what they've done in the past, but then the idea is something that we slot into that page. I'm going back the same way I just came. Yeah, there we go. By cross-having into something, you've then got a surface. How it stands up, we're not sure at the moment. And what you might find in the screen at the back, if I've timed this, you can put no rubbish. If you have a look there every so often, you'll see flat surfaces with little animals coming in different positions. That was their version of the small pet table. That particular lot had to make it out of a sheet of A3 sized, which you can get out economically out of a sheet of MDF, a class load of material. Everything had to come out that one page. So they were designing, this is maybe second year, the figures and the tabletop all to come out one piece of material. So they were actually modelling a lot in cardon paper, saying, that's too big, I've not got anything for that. So they go away and try it again. I mentioned this to the last group. I was taught for hundreds of years, but I always thought CAD was something computer aided until somebody put me right when we were designing a camper van. And he said, oh, are you using CAD? I said, no, I'm just using old boxes and stuff. I said, CAD. Cardboard aided design. Absolute genius. Try it out, model it, stick it together, change it, cut it.
I'm trying to tell my kids that in case they write that in there.
Well,
And the graphics exam.
yeah. In my first school at Castlebrae, the kids remembered the name of a varnish as Polly Wally Doodle All the Urethane. It didn't work too well. It was polyurethane, but Polly Wally Doodle All the Urethane wasn't the best one. So that type of thing, I say there's probably some examples kicking about in these folios of other types of table ideas. Has it come up yet? No. Different ways of holding things up. The idea is to hold the whiteboard up, but how do you make it stand up? Well, there's about half a dozen, maybe more, ways of making something stand up. There's actually clocks. And either by cross-halving, which is my favourite way of joining materials because it is, I know it's from fact, idiot-proof. My wife's going to hate me for this bit. When you get old and retire, you do that things like go to IKEA. Well, I like that box, I like that beside the desk, I like to be able to put stuff in it.
That's
So,
genius, I've done that. Have it.
you see a word. That's exactly what I knew was going to come out of my mouth. Cross having.
I've put my inbox beside my desk.
There's a bucket. It's the same thing but on the other side. There's a weak spot there obviously, but as a way of joining things, it's so simple. It's flat pack and it goes back in my bag when I'm finished. I'll put it away now. Sorry, you're not getting it. But as a way of
I'm so sorry.
as a way of joining things, it's absolutely amazing what you can do with it in different materials as well. So these are some clock designs. Believe it or not, each one of those spikes, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all those spikes worked out to time of the day. This is my advanced higher student, and works just here at the moment. And this is for a community garden growing area. One of the best students we've ever had. She's away doing a PhD now, and every member of staff in the department had taught her at one time. So you have to think about a village to raise a kid type of thing. That was a classic example. So she had all the CAD modelling and paper modelling and all of this right the way through. That's running in the background for reasons, just so as you can, as I say, look up and not get too bored. That would be an example of a bird design. Bit penguin, bit parrot. And hangs on the wall by this ingenious method, which is one piece of material marked out, drilled through, separated, that goes on the wall, and then that simply get the right look for you. See, glasses time, hangs up on that. Remember the hole that was the pole? Even that can be shaped to a degree. And it's that stuff again. So template, even template for that. Working the actual design work for that's in one of these folios somewhere. That would be a first year outcome. It wasn't a candle holder, I just found that still working in the garage, which was a shock. But again, much more geometric, so no real themes other than geometry in that one, but very accurate in terms of cutting out the shapes, whatever. If you've got Forstner drills that are a good size for fitting things like tea lights used to be a thing schools used to do until there were so many fires. These things work to a degree, and whether we should be buying them cheap from overseas or not, I don't know. But something like a slot like that's just enough to hold a phone, or something else that's more modern these days, because I'm so out of touch for these sort of things. Analytical sketching is the other thing, and a little bit of rendering. By the way, these sort of things are all on online at the Get a Grip Graphics YouTube channel. There's also a website which is terrible. I had a heart attack 10 years ago, and I thought I was, I'm going. Chucked everything online, forgot about it, kept living, forgot about it again. COVID happened. The number of people that are watching those videos, it just went mental. 20,000 in a week, that's ridiculous. They're there, they're not in a particularly great order, but there's resources there folk can use in any way they want. Analytical stuff, which was the second part of this nonsense. Is that enough on the design side in terms of getting ideas going? For analytical stuff, I'm a great believer in, and it's in some of the design folios the kids have done here as well. I use the word KISS a lot. Keep it simple, stupid. It's a very, very good design mnemonic. They remember it for some reason, especially if you try and fake the fact you've forgotten the last one. Keep it simple, what? And 20 kids all shout stupid back at you. You know they've learned something in the last week. So it would be things like, I've done that one. These all appeared on something like that. The wee man should be kicking about here somewhere. He's hiding down there. Charity shop, £3 bargain of the week. That's a bit complicated though, eh? I mean, maybe that time kids and see how we enjoy that. You get your jotters, but even this is a bit tricky. If I I can find it. There we go. It's not that hard, is it? Really? You put it down, put your glasses on. Even a colour pencil. And the trick on something like this is note important features along the outside, so that when you come to do, and it's going to be slightly wider because the pencil slopes in, but you've got your length, you've got your width, the position of holes, that curve's coming out of that angle there, this line's jaws go back to that, there's a slopey thing back here. If I move that off, I could start working where that curve comes to, where that goes along to, and where that comes down to, and build that up. And that one has all the construction lines still in it, including the mistakes. Now what I did do, and I think that's on the online thing as well, it might appear there at some point, is photograph that and do a digital render in Procreate on the iPad, which is just floating in colour into areas. But I had the photograph with this sitting next to it, so if I wanted to pick a colour up, click, I've got that colour, I'll just airbrush that in. So a way of developing that.
Do you have Procreate?
I'd never got it at school. I wanted it. They kept giving us all sorts of stuff. I've used nothing but that now on the freelance stuff. For video, the good thing about Procreate is it records all the steps you're doing. So if you spend 20 minutes or an hour on something, you can just play it back and you can see each step running through, and you can see the layers and all the rest of it. And it's a great drawing, photograph, rendering, all the rest of it. It's not vector-based, it's not scalable, but it is good. That's the clip of my wife's house keys. She doesn't know I stole them that day. They're all in the back. See, you're listening now, aren't you? Yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not. But even looking at how that component works, how this thing, I never realised that those little things, they've got a very thin spine up here. It actually cooks in the back of that. So I did part, two views, part, two views, and assembly. Just drawing around it. A little bit of time and some colour, you could make that look more three-dimensional very easily. But again, 2D looking like 3D. I've got one last one. I think it's just a tool like the tape measure. Stick it down, draw around it, same thing. You see little marks around the outside, and you can pick it up. And I think that'll appear there at some point. There's a 8:10 and rendered version of that one as well. I'm going to turn around and watch the telly as well because you're on home stuff. That's using. There's some worksheets in this on the website on how to break down the step by step on these, using two techniques for marker rendering. One is strike through, which I'm going to attempt to do in one of these drawings badly.
That's quite old. I've been using that for about 8 years.
What that? It is.
Marker pen rendering of a flash drive. I started using that in 2015, maybe 2016.
Okay, I'm going to trump you with this one.
Pay money.
Examples of shapes and things you can create. I mean, that's when you get into turning. What can you do with turning stuff on? Kill fish or roll bread or whatever you do. It's also you cut it. You just a priest. A number of kids that asked for a priest when I worked at Castlebury. You got a priest, so where'd you go fishing? Water leaf. What'd you catch? Mackerel. No, you can't. That's a freshwater joke. In terms of 2D stuff, all right, I'll talk you through these examples. Cones look really difficult. That's exactly the same technique as the one I did on the board there with the centre line. Once you get a centre line going, cones are just one ellipse and a smaller one at the end, if it's cut. Otherwise it comes to a point. There is a point, sorry, I'm off on a tangent again. If I want that as a cone and cut that bit off, now I'm going to see two things here. Is it an open ice cream cone, or is it the nose cone of a rocket? If I turn on that one and that one, it's a bucket or an ice cream cone. Yeah? Had I just firmed in the way round, the brain flips it. And if you do complex things like that little figure there, occasionally you go, oh, it's going the wrong way. So that's just the only tricky bit when it comes to doing complex cones. In terms of 3D objects and colour work, if I just do a couple of very simple things here just now, I've not got a lot of this stuff with me. There are examples out there. If I'm in the outline, I wouldn't do this with such a dark pen initially. And again, I have got into trouble with this because sometimes I do it with two identical shaped rectangles, and I suggest that what we're looking at is a cone. No, we're doing, so it's a cylinder. These are all a bit on the dark side. I'll literally just grab these before they came out. You know, if you're using markers at all, you've got cold and warm. These are all CC, these are cold greys, so they've got a slight blue to them. The warm ones have got a slight orange or redness to them. So I'm going to go with the lightest one here. Use inside the tip of the marker, and I'm going to use strike through one and not the other one. Strike through is this, where you don't worry about where you start or end, you just continue right through the object. Always make sure you're wearing a nappy, especially in school property, because, or even worse if you're working on your own sketch pad or whatever, because you can bleed through into whatever's underneath. And trust me, it's not good on the kitchen table. Technique, it's the same sketching technique. The tip of the pen is shaped like that. You want to be using that surface, so no. It's not a DNA test. It's that same smooth movement, again from the shoulder. With a little bit of practice, you can start within. And I'm just trying to lighten this up a little bit. The strike through technique can either require a lot of black going around outside, or you cut it out and paste it on, so you're actually removing it. Building up that way. Going through the greys.
See when you're using the cool and the warm, why?
Yeah.
Is there any particular place you would use the cool greys rather than the warm
I
greys?
tend to use cool greys for everything, because it saves me getting mixed up with the other ones. You're working through, I've done it.
It's not quite like...
Yeah. Woods and materials that have got more of a warmth that, you can do that.
Yeah.
I've used it, is it Glasgow City Council Technical Teachers Association? They've got a website or I did some
like a Teams page, like a shared page.
I did an in-service, and then COVID came in and we couldn't do it. I produced a whole lot of pages on sketching and rendering in pencil and 2D and 3D and marker pen and ordinary pencil. That's still on YouTube on Get a Grip, but I think they also put it on their council one, so they're accessible. Some of the pages are actually in amongst this stuff here. That is a bit rough. One thing, because these are double-ended, you've got a small tip. The same idea, just going around the inside makes a big difference. And more so in this one, because I haven't really worked with that strike through. Most materials tend not to have a razor edge. They've all got a slight radius to them. I mean, this desk obviously got one. These products definitely have them. But even that there isn't razor sharp. So this little line here just gives a hint of a darker surface down the edge there. So I tend to overdo it on those. You can go through the greys. You can get darker. But one of the things I like doing the most, oh, by the way, for off the tangent again. Teenagers seem to understand this. Cross section of a teenager's face. Spot. Squeezed spot. Or maybe out of date. Maybe it's in PC. Bump. Hole. Sun's up here. Sun comes in. Dark side of the spot. Light side of the spot. Hole. Dark side of the spot. light side of the spot. By changing which side you have highlight or reflection on, highlight and shadow on, you can make something look flat, 2D, and whether it's an innie or an outie. And anything I've got on that big sheet of paper there, if you find the white pencil on it, which side are the highlights on? Normally the ones with the darker lines around about them. Would it be the top and, I've placed this upside down now, top left? Have a look here. Pull this a wee bit. There. It's always on this side, yeah? So the light's coming in this way. Any drawing I ever do, light's coming from this one source, otherwise it gets very confusing. So you tend to get shadows on the opposite side and highlights on the sun side. So if I wanted to make, where's my pens? I wanted to make that wing look, and I would never do this with first year marker pens or whatever, I could put a little bit of a shadow or a darker edge there. If I wanted to make his tummy look even bigger, you can do this with colour pencils. I'll just try and go over the markers. What a mess this desk is. We were talking about desks earlier on. We made a 3.5 metre wide desk that I cut out for a teacher, and you get 20 kids round about it. And it makes such a difference. Every classroom should have one. If I said that, do those highlights and shadows make a bit more sense now? Sorry, I used the word wrong. Those highlights and shade make a bit more sense. Because if it was shadow, we'd have that as well. Casting out the other one. And anything you want to pop, oh yes, this is a stood up and made that noise. There's the example I said earlier on about taking a real product. You can't see at all. I'm sorry, I've really been looking at my ear for the last hour and a half. It's got highlights and shadow as well after the haircut. Highlights on one side, but again, if you've got the object there, and classrooms are bad for this because you've got light sources coming from all angles, so sometimes having a torch makes a difference. But you can see how that there, just by putting these highlights, look at the real thing. Where does it reflect? Things like cylinders you can sort of estimate, but things like this, it's so much better if you've got the real McCoy in front of you, McCoy in front of you. So again, and even just getting carried away, paper that's got brown paper, packaging paper is amazing for drawing on, because you've got white that you've never had before. So you can, what else is in this one?
I think as well, white pages dead dawn time for kids to draw on, isn't it?
Yeah, the last group of folks said something that hadn't really dawned on me, because it's not been their problem when I was doing this, is kids want to get everything right and neat first time. Hell no. No. Get the page busy. There's examples, I think even in Sketchpad 156, where if I could have done this with classes, I would have done more of it. Drawing on top of drawing on top of drawing on top of drawing. I've only got the one page. We'll keep going. This is my wife and I do strange things outside now. She makes rock standing witchcraft, basically. She does rock balancing, and we should have been burnt years ago. And I'm starting to draw in the sand, like so a circle's 50 metres across with a string and a stick. It's amazing what you can draw with the simplest of tools. And these are ideas for drawing things on the sand.
I'm going to start giving kids sheets of paper that I've actually drawn on already to do the drawings on.
Yeah. Oh no, we
It's
used to use that a lot. Yeah, or it's been on one side. Brand new. You're only using 50% of it. For all our sketch work in schools, we used to use A4, A3, and it was single-sided. They always worked one side until they got really desperate for and they worked both sides. You can see examples of the things the kids come up with in first year, third year. See, that's too long, I think, to stick on the TTA site, but it shows a good range of examples of kids' work from second year. And some of them have got their sketches as well in the background. That kid wasn't sick, that's actually an intentional paint job. But sometimes taking a project like that and just turning it becomes a completely different thing. And again, the good thing about CAD and modelling and stuff, just turn it, oh, I've got another idea. Or turn it aside, I've got another idea. Rather than that's it.
I was always taught to take your drawing, turn it upside down, flip it over,
Yeah.
draw through what you can trace through from the back of the sheet, fold it in half,
I was
you know, do all that sort of stuff.
fascinated in Barcelona in the Sagrada Familia, Chinese cathedral, and he modelled it upside down. Because stone can only be under compression, he hung strings and put little sandbags on it, and he put that one and that one, and tied them together and make a triangle. He hung another one from here and made that, and another one. You end up with these arches that are all under tension. But if you did that, its columns are always under compression. I think he did it to scale. I think he did it full size. But these ones are all on the tube unit feature stuff. Any shape you can draw, start with a square, you can build up from that. Shadows make things look more three-dimensional, and that's it. That's the examples. I think this is going to do the magic of 3, 2, 1. So that should move out of the way. Thank you very much, hairy hand. Somebody said to me today, "Are you the guy with the hairy hand that put that stuff online?" No. Stop shaving it now, so it's fine. But that's filmed and then stills taken, and then the application's talking about Procreate. I've got my iPad there. Then it's just a matter of lifting the colours off and putting colour into it. And because it's airbrush.
When you say lifting colours off, I take it you've got like a digital pen,
The pen
that you
pen
just
and it
touch
touches
the
it,
actual
it touches the
object.
screen and it takes that colour. For years I tried Wacom art pads and all that sort of stuff, and I tried sketching with mice and stuff. It didn't work. When eventually, after a heart attack, I was good to myself. I bought an iPad. I was like, oh, it's the same skill. It's transferable. It's exactly the same. The downside now, and I put my hand up to this. Yesterday I'm on a sketch pad and I'm drawing away. I went,
I've done that.
try to make the paper bigger.
That's hilarious.
But it's the same skills. The transfer of skills is there for sure. Listen, I hope that was all right. There's lots of stuff. If any of the
Fantastic.
councils want any in-servicey type stuff, give us a shout. But I'm no longer GTC registered for doing stuff in front of kids because my wife said that's a waste of money. I'm not teaching anymore.
As long as you have a teacher in the room, you're all right.
Bollocks.
Not get it out of it that easily, Neil.
Okay.
Cheers.